My love, this dress for you. It shimmered under the quiet glow of a night that seemed to pause just to watch you breathe, as if even time itself forgot how to move when you stepped into the light. And I remember standing there, not knowing whether to speak or simply let the moment unfold the way it wanted to. Because there are some sides in this life that do not ask for words, they ask for silence, for presence, for a kind of attention that comes from somewhere deeper than thought. And you in that dress became one of those moments, something too beautiful to interrupt with anything as fragile as language. And I swear, the way it caught the light felt almost deliberate, like the fabric understood its purpose, like it knew it was not just something you wore, but something that revealed a version of you. The world rarely gets to see the soft confidence in the way you carried yourself, the quiet strength in your posture, the way your eyes held a story far more radiant than any shimmer could ever compete with, and yet the shimmer remained like a reflection of everything. You are something gentle, something luminous, something impossible to ignore once seen, and I remember thinking how strange it is that a simple piece of cloth can become something unforgettable just because it belongs to you, just because it moves when you move and breathes when you breathe, and suddenly it is no longer just a dress, it is a memory being created in real time. It is a moment that will return to me long after the night has faded, long after the lights have gone dim, and the world has returned to its usual rhythm. And even now I can see it clearly, the way the fabric traced your silhouette without trying too hard, the way it flowed like it was part of you, not something separate, but something that had always been waiting to find you. And in that moment, I realized something that stayed with me longer than I expected, that beauty is not something you wear, it is something you awaken, something that already exists within you, waiting for the right moment to be seen. And that dress, it did not create your beauty, it simply revealed it the way a quiet night reveals the stars, the way still water reveals the reflection of the sky. And I found myself lost not just in the way you looked, but in the way you made everything around you feel softer, as if the world had lowered its voice just to match your presence, as if even the air had learned to move more gently in your company. And I could have stood there forever watching the light dance across that shimmer, watching the way it followed your every step like a loyal echo. But more than that, I was watching you, the way you smiled without trying, the way you seemed unaware of the effect you had on everything around you. And maybe that is what made it even more beautiful. The fact that you were not performing, you were simply being, and in that being there was a kind of magic I cannot explain, something that does not come from effort but from truth. And I wanted to tell you all of this in that moment. I wanted to say how the world looked different with you in it, how even something as ordinary as a dress became extraordinary because it belonged to you, but instead I stayed quiet because sometimes love does not need to be spoken. Sometimes it is enough to stand there and feel it fully, to let it settle into your bones, to carry it with you like a secret you never want to lose. And now, as I think back to that night, I realize that it was never just about the dress or the shimmer or the way the light touched you. It was about the way you made me feel. It was about the quiet certainty that in a world full of fleeting moments, this one would stay, this one would remain untouched by time because it was real, because it was you, and because in that single moment I saw not just your beauty but the way my heart had already chosen you long before I found the words to admit it, and even now, if I close my eyes, I can still see it, the shimmer, the light, the way you stood there, unknowingly becoming one of the most beautiful memories I have ever been given, and I realized that if I had to describe love to someone who had never felt it before, I would not speak in complicated terms. I would simply tell them about that night, about you in that dress, about the way everything else faded into the background as if it understood that this was the moment that mattered. This was the moment that would stay, and I would tell them that love often looks like that, not loud, not overwhelming, but quiet and undeniable, like a shimmer under soft light, like a presence that changes everything without needing to try. And if they asked me what happened after, I would smile because the truth is nothing extraordinary happened. The night ended, the lights dimmed, the world moved on, but something inside me did not. Something inside me stayed right there in that moment, holding on to it, not out of fear of losing it, but out of gratitude for having experienced it at all. And my love, if you ever wonder whether that night meant anything more than just another passing memory, know this, it became a part of me. It settled somewhere deep where time cannot reach, and it continues to glow softly, just like that. Shimmer under the quiet light, reminding me that some moments are not meant to fade, they are meant to stay, to become the quiet proof that love once stood in front of you wearing something simple and turned it into something unforgettable, and even after that night folded itself gently into memory, I found pieces of it returning to me in the most unexpected ways, in the faint glow of streetlights on an empty road, in the shimmer of water when the wind brushes across it, in the quiet pause before sleep when the world softens and thoughts begin to wander back to places that felt like something more than ordinary. And every time it comes back, it is never just the dress or the way it shimmered, it is you. It is always you standing there as if the moment refused to exist without you at its center. And I begin to understand that what stayed with me was not what I saw, but what I felt. Something deeper than admiration, something quieter than excitement, something that settled into me like a truth I did not need to question. And maybe that is why it never faded, because it was never surface level, it was never just about beauty, it was about recognition, about seeing you in a way that felt complete, as if everything I had ever searched for without knowing had quietly gathered itself into that single moment and showed me what it looks like when something real finally stands in front of you and does not need to prove itself. And I think about how often we let moments pass without holding on to them, how quickly we move from one day to the next without realizing that somewhere in between something meaningful tried to reach us, tried to leave a mark that we were too distracted to notice. But that night was different. It did not rush, it did not hide, it allowed itself to be seen, and in doing so, it changed the way I pay attention to the world. It taught me that love is not always found in grand declarations or dramatic turns. Sometimes it is found in the way light rests on someone's shoulder, in the way a quiet presence fills a room without asking for attention, in the way your heart suddenly becomes aware of itself as if it has just remembered why it beats. And since then, I have carried that awareness with me like a soft echo, like something that gently reminds me to slow down, to look a little longer, to feel a little deeper, because I know now how easily moments like that can pass unnoticed, and how rare it is to experience something that stays with you, not because you tried to hold on to it, but because it chose to stay on its own. And there are times when I wonder if you ever realized what you gave me in that single night, if you ever knew that without saying anything, without doing anything extraordinary, you became a memory that continues